Are you ready to influence others? Is that your passion? You want to influence others to transform their lives, have better relationships, to make more money, be happier, be more spiritual. There's a host of other things that you was born to influence others to do to help their lives better. Then they in turn influence other people, and this is how together we can transform the world. Stay tuned for the 5 steps to influence others. Welcome to Biz Success in 15. I'm Cindy J, the Visibility Wiz, and I'm here hoping that you step into who you are with outrageous confidence. Remember to go to visibilitychecklist.com and download your checklist of how to get visible online, which will lead to more influence and more profits. Today, we are going to be speaking about the 5 steps to influence others. Now, sometimes influencing others, sometimes people get this yucky feeling whenever they're thinking about influencing others. They think they're manipulating them or they're tricking them or something like that, which is not the case at all. Influencing others is the capacity to have an effect on the character, the development, or the behavior of someone or something else. It's the effect. You want to help people make different choices that's going to enrich their lives. You can manipulate people. For example, manipulation would be, hey, Johnny, go make your bed and I'll give you $5. Now you're giving him something, you're manipulating him. Or Johnny, go make your bed or else you're not going to get dessert. Or Johnny, go to bed and you're not going to be able to watch TV tonight. Those are not influencing. But influencing is just simply, Johnny, how do you feel when you come home from school and your room's clean? That way you have more time to play. You have more time to have fun with your friends, right? This is influencing him. It's letting him make the decision, but you're sharing the benefits of what's going to happen when he changes his behavior. But you're not telling him he has to, you're not threatening him, and you're not telling him, if you don't clean your room, Johnny, you're not going to get an allowance for the next month or you're going to be grounded, right? So there's no threats, there's no trickery. It's just simply sharing the benefits and how somebody feels when they get the solution they want. And know that I'm not talking about being an influencer, like a social media influencer that has 2 or 3 or 4 million followers. That would be great, but you don't need that many. You can influence 10 people. And whenever you influence those 10 people, they can influence 10 more people. Really and truly, to have a 6-figure business, you can do it. I typically say 20 clients a year. If you have 20 clients a year paying you $5,000, that's a 6-figure business. If you have 10 people a year paying you 10K a year, that is a 6-figure business. Or you could have 100 people paying you $1,000 a year, and that's a 6-figure business. So, if you think of the United States, do you think you could find 2 people in each and every state to work with you? If so, you have 100 people right there. And if they each paid you $1,000, that's a 6-figure business. So it doesn't take much. But where a lot of people fail is, last week we spoke about visibility. A lot of people, they're out there, they're visible, but they don't take the next step to influence people. And then lastly, they don't take the step to profits. So next week we'll be talking about how to increase your profits. This week we're talking about the influence part of it. So know that you're not tricking them and you're influencing them by giving them hope, by hope that they can transform, hope that there is a valid solution to their problem and they don't have to sell their soul to get it, right? You are going to influence more people whenever you learn to share stories and by being a role model. So that being said, there's 4 characteristics of an influential person. So I want you to think of some of the influential people you know, and I'm sure that you're going to see these 4 characteristics in them. Number 1, they are intentional. They are intentional with everything they do and say in their business. They're intentional about whenever they meet people, how they act with people. They're very intentional. They have intentions in life. The second characteristic that influential people have is they know how to connect with others. It used to be said of Mary Kay, when she was speaking to you, if you felt like you was the only person in the room. You could be there with 1,000 other people, but her focus was 100% on you. So whenever you're connecting with others, your focus is on them. It's not on you. And you're connecting with others, and I'll be sharing a little bit more in just a few minutes about connecting with others. The third one is they're resilient. They don't stay down, man. Crap happens in their life and they bounce right back up. I have heard some crazy ass stories from people who, like, they lost a member of their family and the next day they're out speaking. And I'm like, I don't know that I could be that resilient. I'm pretty resilient. Also, very interesting, something to aspire to. Happy people are more resilient than unhappy people. Whenever life knocks you down, and it's going to because we're all human, you have to bounce back up. And whenever you're happy and you're leading a happy life, you can bounce back a lot quicker than somebody who's unhappy. You're not going to stay stuck in that yucky place for months and months and months. Years ago, my son got fired, and he calls me up and he told me he got fired. And I'm like, well, I'm like, that's okay, sweetie. I said, take a couple days to cry and be pissed off and, feel your feelings, and then get out there and start looking for another job. And he looks at me, he goes, the hell with that. I'm going to go look for another job tomorrow. Very resilient. And so I was very proud of him because he just bounced right back up. And his next job actually led to him owning his own business. So it was a stepping case for him. But whenever you bounce back from obstacles, and this is going to help you be stronger, and it's going to help you get the things that you want because you're continuously moving forward. And the fourth characteristic of people who influence others is they're lifelong learners. They don't believe they know it all. They'll tell you they don't know it all. They'll tell you whenever they don't know it, but they will go and they find answers. Lifelong learners doesn't mean you're reading 2, 3, 4, 5 books a week. A lifelong learner is somebody who learns new things and applies them. Okay. So really quick, the 4 characteristics of a person of influence: they're intentional, they connect with others, they're resilient, and they're lifelong learners. So now I'm going to share 5 steps to influence other people. The first step is self-care. You need to take care of yourself. If your cup isn't full, you don't have anything left over to give somebody else. If your cup is not full and you're drained and you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, you're not exercising, you're not meditating, you're not visualizing, you're not taking care of you, it's going to be very hard to influence others because you're going to be drained of energy. If you look at all the influencers, again, they have more energy, and that's why we want to be around them, because of their energy. And you want to be that person. And the only way you're going to get that energy is by self-care. The second step is to be interested. And this is where earlier whenever I talked about connecting with others, whenever you're interested, you lean in, you listen to what they're saying. You're very curious about what they're going through, what they're about. You listen, you engage, you mirror their statements. And just as I said earlier, where Mary Kay, it was like you were the only person in the room. Your goal should be to make other people feel like that. So your focus is 100% on them. You don't lose your attention and go, oh, there's Mary. I have to go say hi to Mary. You are focused on them. You're asking questions. You're genuinely interested and curious about where they are and what they do. And whenever you look at most 7-figure earners, probably even most 6-figure earners, if you meet them at an event, they are very curious about you, and they all do this. So this is a skill that you can learn if it doesn't come natural to you. Tell yourself, hey, I'm going to learn this skill. I'm going to be interested. The third step to influence is to show people, not to tell. So how do you show people? You're a role model. You show them by doing it yourself, but also you share stories, your stories, other people's stories. You share stories about where people were, like these people were exactly where you are, and this is what happened, and now they're living a thriving life. I used to really struggle to get visible. And now I know how to be visible and I can share these steps with you. But I would share it more in a story format. For instance, when I was a divorce coach and whenever I started going to events, people started asking me, Cindy J, how did you get on iHarmony? How did you get on prevention? Can you show me how? This is how I became and morphed into the Visibility Whiz, because people were curious of the visibility that I was getting and how everybody just seemed to know my name almost overnight. And they asked me to show them. So again, it's showing, it's not telling. I could have told them, do this, do that, do this, all these steps. But whenever you learn to share stories, it helps with it helps people learn and it helps people trust you. And it's really an engaging thing. The fourth step is to always, always, always act out of integrity. Be yourself. Step into who you are with outrageous confidence. Don't try to be like your mentors. Don't try to not be like them. You know who you are. Be true to yourself and stand tall unapologetically. Act with integrity. If something doesn't feel right to you, don't do it. You have to honor yourself in order to influence others. Because if you're not honoring yourself, they're going to believe that you're not going to honor them. And the fifth step is to be dependable. Do what you say, follow through, but be dependable. If you say you're going to meet somebody at noon, meet them at noon. Just dependability is very important to be an influencer, because it's part of being a role model. It's them looking up to you and knowing that they can achieve it. So again, the 5 steps to influence people: self-care, be interested, listen and engage. You show them, not tell them. Integrity and dependability. So earlier I said, think of the people that you know that are influencers. And then ask yourself, which of these qualities, and you'll see all these qualities in them, and ask yourself, what can I do today to start influencing people? And again, you want to act out of integrity. You don't want to, you're influencing people whether you know it or not. Okay. Years ago, a long, long time ago, back in the dark ages, when my first husband graduated high school, we lived in Southern California, and we would always go to Disneyland after graduation. And they had those, I can't remember what they're called, but they hang on these big, thick wires and they go from one place to another. It got stuck up there, and we were stuck for over 3 hours. And these 2 guys that was in the car with us, they were smoking pot and they were rocking it. And I was terrified, hanging up there in that thing, being stuck. And then these guys rocking the car, and the fireman down on the ground was yelling, stop rocking it, right? And they had to get in there, and it took them a long time to rescue us. So it was a traumatic experience for me. When my grandson was 3 years old, I went to the zoo with him and my son. And they had one of these little things that go back and forth. And so my son threw my grandson in the car with me, and he got in the car in front because he wanted to turn around and take pictures of us. And I did what I typically do on those things. I get really still and really stiff, and I just sort of sit there and talk to myself, calm down. It's okay. I pray, I do whatever to get in this zone state. My grandson looks up at me and he goes, Grandma, I don't like it up here. So I influenced him to be afraid of heights simply by my actions. So your actions, your words are influencing other people. So are you influencing them to be afraid of heights? Or are you influencing them to think it's fun to be up in the air? Now, right after that happened, I told my son that he needed to get back on that thing with my grandson and make it fun. And he didn't. And it took until my grandson was like 8 or 9 years old before we could get him on a plane because he was afraid of heights. He's not near as afraid as he used to be, which is a good thing. He's growing out of it. But that's because my son's constantly showing him the fun part of it. But it's harder for my son now than it would have been had I been all happy and made it fun for my grandson the first time, then he wouldn't have done that. So remember, you're always influencing people, whether you know it or not. So you want to be intentional on how you are influencing others. So again, a reminder to go to visibilitychecklist.com and download your free visibility checklist. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Biz Success in 15, and we'll be talking about 3 money-making activities that you can start doing and seeing an increase in your profits. Big hugs. Have a great day. See you next week. Bye-bye.